Ohio State's got one more road game left before it heads to Ann Arbor as they head to Purdue this weekend where they're 29.5-point favorite. I'm Stephen Means. That's Stefan Krajisnik, and that is Andrew Gillis. And these are our game scores. 29.5-point favorite, Stefan, over under 48.5. Where you going with this?
Going with old reliable, Ohio State to cover and for the under to hit. I'm saying Ohio State wins 42-3. Which I think is the exact same score from the Minnesota game. And I think that's about what we're going to see in this contest. I know we talked earlier on the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, go listen to the podcast. We talked about, weather playing a factor and things of that nature. I think it's going to be fine enough for Ohio State to do what it does. I think Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate will be able to put up any numbers that they desire against a, pretty troublesome Purdue secondary and Purdue pass offense. And I think, I said earlier this week on our outrageous predictions, I think we see Bo Jackson have a pretty good day, running the ball. I think Ohio State's going to try to do some things with its running game and break some explosives. And I think with Bo Jackson now, seemingly healthy after, dealing with some things before the bye week, I think he's ready to break a few big plays. So Ohio State's kind of going to have its day, offensively and do whatever it wants to do against Purdue. And I'll give Purdue the benefit of getting a field goal because we talked about how good their kicker is. So if they can get on the plus side of the field, maybe once, I don't know, that could be off a turnover. It could be off, Ryan Brown, who I think is a pretty good quarterback, breaking a big play in the passing game and they get to field goal range and they get on the board. But I think this Purdue team is scrappier than we saw last season. And Barry Odom's a pretty good coach and he'll have them ready to play. But I don't think they've faced someone yet of Ohio State's caliber. And I think Ohio State is starting to become, no pun intended, kind of the train that we thought that they could be. And I think coming out of that bye week, playing against Penn State, we kind of got to see what things look like full force. And I think Ohio State is going to try to be full force while being, responsible in terms of injuries and playing it safe and things of that nature throughout these next 3 weeks to get itself ready for the regular season game at the end with Michigan. So 42-3, I think Ohio State cruises in this one.
So just as an update to the people out there, Stefan is 8-0 in picking the winner of games this year. He's 7-1 against the spread and 5-3 against the over and under. That's the best of the trio in terms of the over under.
Reliable.
We all suck at picking them. Well, no, you picked the over last week and they had the over. That's why you're 5-3.
Sure.
So congratulations to you, man, and leading in that category. Andrew, what's your game score?
Ohio State 45, Purdue 7. I do think Purdue scores a touchdown, but I don't think they're going to get much of anything else. If I had to bet which half that comes in, I think it's the second half. I think Ohio State rolls in this one, so that's cover and an over. This Ohio State team has not shown me that even their down weeks can get squirrely, if you will. This Ohio State team has really just kind of dominated pretty much everybody from the start. And you look at the games that they have played this year, and, I think the one game where they didn't cover was against Ohio, and they outgained them by like 400 yards. And Ryan Day gets to the postgame press conference and starts lamenting the red zone offense, and those were the issues, right? Everything else, they've just kind of taken care of business. So, yeah, I think Ohio State rolls in this one. I think this is a very, very clear path to the Michigan game. You play Purdue, you play UCLA, you play Rutgers. I don't think Ohio State is in a position right now to be saying, phew, we got through Penn State, finally. Now we can think about Michigan. And I don't think that this team is going to have a mental letdown like that to where, it would be a true stunner if Ohio State even approached losing as a 29.5-point favorite. But I don't think that this is going to be a scenario where it's just, man, let's just get out of West Lafayette with a win. Let's just try to leave here at 21-17 and a little bit like Michigan was last week, where it was like, man, these guys just won't go away. So yeah, I think Ohio State rolls in this one. I think the Buckeyes feel really good about where they're headed into the home stretch of the season.
So Purdue has played Ryan Day's Ohio State team 3 other times before this. They played in 2021 when they won 59-31. That defense was horrid. And Jeff Brom was also the coach at Purdue at the time, and he gets pretty creative with the play calling. So it was a little bit of both of those things. The offense is awesome, the defense is horrid, but also Jeff Brom's a good football coach. Since that game, anybody want to guess how many points Purdue has scored on Ohio State since scoring 31 points in 2021?
They've met two other times. Yeah. 6 total.
Gillis.
I was trying to think of what the 2023 game was. 0. They get shut out.
Stefan, you just Price is right at this, man. You got as close as possible without going over. 7 points. Purdue scored 38 points on Ryan Day's Ohio State era, and 31 of them came in the first time they ever played. They scored 7 points in 2023. They did not score last year when they came to Columbus, and I'm thinking about that. Like, it's just, Purdue's not in a much better place than they were. In fact, the 7 points they scored in the 2023 game, they scored backdoor in the fourth quarter with 14:30 left to play in the game. So it was just kind of like, you just kind of accidentally put those points up there. So my score is 45-0. Ohio State has 5 shutouts during Ryan Day's tenure. They obviously shut out Cincinnati in 2019. They had 2 shutouts last year, Purdue being one of them and the other one being Central Michigan. And so far this season, they have 2 shutouts as well. They have the Grambling shutout and the other shutout, which is escaping me right now. Wisconsin. Somebody save me. Wisconsin, yes, the other shutout. So they get their 3rd shutout of the season and 6th shutout of the Ryan Day era. Devin Mockapee is a good running back, and I thought he would be able to get a little something against Ohio State. Not be dominant, but just a little something, right? Even Darius Taylor broke a couple of them, right? Even Nicholas Singleton and Katron Allen broke a little bit. And it has nothing to do with Ohio State's run defense. It's just there's good football players on both sides, right? And there's Devin Mockabee's good enough to get a little something on Ohio State. Ryan Brown is a decent quarterback, but he doesn't scare me against this secondary, like, at all, right? I think it's another week of Ohio State can leave these corners on islands when it comes to these receivers and just completely stop the run. And as long as they're not getting beat outside the way they were for a little bit against Penn State last week, there's no way Purdue can move the ball. And so unless Purdue starts randomly moving the ball in Ohio State and they're eating up clock, Ohio State's going to be able to do it at once offensively. And that means be the efficient, explosive offense that we've seen. I think we see some deep shots to Carnell and JJ. I think we see some explosive runs from James Peoples and Bo Jackson. I think James had a better week last week, and I think that's something to build off of. Maybe we see a little bit more from Isaiah West as well. But I just think, Max Clare, right, he'll probably get a touchdown, like a homecoming touchdown in this game. I don't see a reason why Ohio State can't get out of this thing. Just playing clean, put up their 45, get home. That's kind of the point of the day. Get home, play clean, leave with no injuries, and get your 45 and get out of there. And I think that's what's going to happen here. I think we've seen some teams be able to, like, put something together and get the 3 points, Stefan, or get the 7 points, Gillis. But I just don't think Purdue has the talent to be able to do that respectfully. So 3rd shutout of the year for me. So we're all taking Ohio State to cover, and we're all taking overs. Look at that.
No, I had under.
Oh, wait, 42
to 3.
Yeah, you're right. This is, again, not great at math here, which is why I write for a living. 614-350-3315, 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. If you're watching this on YouTube, go listen to Buckeye Talk wherever you find podcasts. And we go live every Wednesday at 11 a.m. This week we talked about the Heisman Trophy and how we would vote if the season were to end today. For Stefan Krajisnik and Andrew Gillis, we'll be back from this break on Buckeye Talk, where we'll talk about some games around the country. See you.